All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that is actually the case. My camera right now is being a little bit on the glitchy side. It looks like it's lagging somewhat. It's not quite up to par. Anyway, we'll get right into things, but let me make sure that we're live on Rumble. Let me see. I've got my kitty co-host, as you can see. Or I could be talking to myself for all I know. It's not live yet, but chat's working. That's usually a good sign. Yes, you can pet yourself. I've got things to do. Yep, we're live. Okay, let me drag that down, get down to chat. My apologies for not streaming for a couple of days. I just wasn't energetically quite with it. And so I decided to take a couple days off to play Fallout. Something I haven't done in many, many moons. It's fun. I'll probably do a little bit more later. There's nothing wrong with a little bit of gaming, as long as you've got nothing else productive to do at the time, of course. I start off my mornings with my morning video slew and usually do some editing as well, so I'm not exactly a slouch when it comes to work. We have a lot to cover today, but before we get into that, let me get this link active here. I'll pop it into chat as well. I'm popping a link in both chats. That is on Pixel Planet. We are running an Egyptian campaign today. Yes, indeed. We're taking over the Nile Delta. You can probably see that area that's like it's partially blue and it's partially dark red. Just start pixeling it in with our clank colors, which are yellow and red tiles. You can see the center of the Nile Delta there. Also over into the purple, where it says Tarldom. We're taking that over too. Please do not destroy any of the art in the region. Some of it was made by clankers. We are not at war with anyone currently. We made peace with Turkey. We made peace with the Fibonaccis. They moved out of Africa and into the Indian Ocean, actually. So we have Africa to ourselves. That is our main goal. I've pixeled in some the Nile Delta there. The actual like rivers branching off the Nile looked a little bit autistic. So I fixed them up over the last hour before going live. Anyway, we'll get right into this. We have huge news today. We have an omnibus with regards to PayPal, their damage control. First link in the description is actually, I replicated this from a clanker, and thank you to that individual for archiving things. PayPal is lying flat out when it says that it didn't have any plans to go forth with a disinformation fine of $2,500 or up to that amount from people's accounts. That is, the fact checkers have looked into it and determined that's not true. The problem is that if you look at this, there are multiple links from that link that you can check for yourself. They were posting that back in September. So it took them a couple of weeks to do their 180. Here's the thing. They put forth the idea that if somebody is using PayPal, they have money directly on their account. It's not certain that they would draw it directly from your bank account. Not sure that that would go over legally. The idea is that they would fine you if you were engaged in misinformation on some platform or another, which was linked to your PayPal. And now they're claiming that they never had such intent. No. We never intended to do that. But the thing is, you put that material out. It was there for a couple of weeks. Now, we've got archives showing the original snapshots from those pages, and they show the time in which it was available. It was the end of September. The fact is that when you look at their damage control, there's some funny word games going on. They say we do not have an intent to push forward with this under our rules. Of course you don't. But that's like somebody saying, somebody is planning to murder someone. They make elaborate plans. They've got their gun and everything. The cops raid them and take them in. And they say, well, I'm not planning to murder them. Of course you're not. You're detained currently. You're disarmed. You no longer are planning to do so. But you were planning to do so before. And here's, the evidence. And you're going into the slammer. PayPal is straight up goddamn lying to people in their damage control. The next link has to do with their stock. Their stock has taken a hammering. They've lost billions of dollars over the last couple of days. And they fucking deserve it. You should close your PayPal account. And Venmo, by the way, which is a subsidiary of PayPal Incorporated. You should not use their services. Punish them solidly now. And probably we won't have this problem again for some time. It's only a matter of time before more tech firms decide to take the draconian step of robbing you of your money for off-site behavior. We can push that time frame back, though. We have the opportunity to do that with a concerted effort. And the third one is also PayPal related. This is why it's a PayPal omnibus at the moment. PayPal has no intention to fine customers over misinformation, Verify and Bloomberg report. This was a Twitter event. You've got Verify, which, I don't know, it's certainly not verified as reality. Bloomberg, 9 News Denver, Reuters, the Washington Times, and the Washington Times going in as well. Why do I get the feeling that PayPal paid somebody in order to make a bunch of fluff pieces for them because they said, shit, the shareholders are not going to like this. No, they have no problem with us abusing our users as long as those users keep being users. But now they're leaving or threatening to leave, and it's become a problem. What happened is that PayPal absolutely planned to rob people of their money for disinformation. What that actually pertains to is anyone's guess. I think that your guess is as good as mine, and I think we can all agree upon what that would actually constitute. Right-wing misinformation. It comes from Russia. Maybe it comes from China or something. Real disinformation, of course, would never be targeted by PayPal or any similar group, only fake disinformation. So if it's actually state disinfo, you're home free. If you're replicating something that is merely labeled disinfo by the disinfo mongers of the legacy media or big tech, all of a sudden you have a problem. They got caught out. People realized this was a thing. They boycotted the company. They threatened to cancel their accounts. Many of them did. And PayPal reversed course. Now they're running media damage control. And keeping in mind, those same legacy outlets work with the Biden admin. And what does the Biden admin push via Klobuchar and others? Attacking misinformation, which most often is not actually misinformation at all. Long Dong John, did you happen to see the admission made by the Pfizer exec during a hearing in the EU Parliament? Yes, but I can't talk about that on a YouTube stream, sadly. Red Raider Matthias, PayPal will fall even further this week. It takes up to 3 business days to move money out of your account and into a bank. Closing mine this afternoon. Yeah, unless you absolutely have to use PayPal for some compelling reason, you shouldn't use it at all. They've gone beyond the pale. They got caught out. They're still doing the damage control fucking lying thing. Do not use PayPal. Get rid of it. There are other alternatives. Tom Pollins 787 on Rumble. Sticks, you should try Subnautica and Grounded, both survival adventure crafting games. The former stranded underwater on an alien planet. The latter shrunken in your neighbor's backyard. That sounds interesting. I like games where you can craft a lot of things. All I want to do is have a game that's like in the medieval era, and you can build up your little house or tower or whatever, and then take over the surrounding areas and overthrow entire kingdoms. I want a game that's based in ancient Rome along the lines of like the Fallout 4 settlement system crossed over with something like Ark Survival. That sounds like the perfect game to me. We've got another news story here. Oh boy, this is a good one, by the way. Terrence K. Williams reacting to this. This is a Katie Hobbs bit. This is the Kamala Harris and AOC of Arizona. I lost half of my brain cells listening to this word salad. You're being generous. I think it was more than half for me. Katie Hobbs is running for governor. Lord Jesus, help us all. If I lived in Arizona, I would vote for Carrie Lake. Who's with me? And so you can watch that for yourself. Link in the description. I'm not going to watch it right now because I don't want to have a mental breakdown live on air here to several thousand people. Katie Hobbs doesn't appear to actually know what she's talking about, like even more than Joe Biden. He'll wander off stage or around the stage and not quite know what he is. He'll respond to something, deflect, lose track of what he's saying. Okay, it happens to the best of us when we're 80 fucking years old. Katie Hobbs doesn't have that excuse. She's giggling like a schoolgirl. She's talking about completely random things that don't appear to be connected to one another. This is worse than Biden or Fetterman, which we will also be, by the way, separately talking about. I don't know what the fuck she's talking about. I don't know it's 2.5 minutes long. There is no point to what she's saying. And this is their best and brightest, by the way. She's the up and coming Democrat. She's going to keep that evil MAGA turd, Carrie Lake, from being governor. I have a sneaking suspicion that if this is how Katie Hobbs operates, when she's not debating or anything like that, she's not exactly, in the trenches at the time. Can you imagine if she did agree to debate Carrie Lake? And she still faces calls to do so, and she still refuses them to this day. Now it's she doesn't want to talk to somebody she's not familiar with. I guess that's her new cope, as reported to me by a clanker earlier. So she's gone beyond, I don't want to justify it because she'll make a laughing stock of Arizona. These MAGA types are cultists. She's gone, apparently that line didn't do well with her focus group, so now she's gone even beyond that. Take a look at that when you get a chance. You should take that link and pop it in for after this live stream is over. Oh boy, I don't know whether you'll laugh, cry, or cringe, or all three. Greta Thanos, think you ought to know this. The Grizzly, I've been playing the Fallout board game. It's pretty fun if you're into miniatures and Fallout. How about just a chess set, but it's like Brotherhood of Steel versus Enclave or something. That I could get behind. Even goddamn Mike Pence. I give Kerry a 10-to-1 advantage in these debates. Well, there aren't any debates. That's a whole fucking problem. Kerry Lake keeps challenging Katie Hobbs to a debate, and Hobbs says, well, I don't want to justify her. She'll make a laughing stock of Arizona. I don't want to talk policy with somebody I'm not familiar with. What the fuck are you talking about? Based on this one clip, she doesn't know anything about literally anything. She's completely clueless, worse than Joe Biden. This is arguably the worst thing that I've seen this election cycle. And we've got Biden, we've got Fetterman, we've got several Republicans that sometimes go cuckoo. This is by far the worst. This isn't even in the same order of magnitude. Goddamn legendary. Please do watch it. TJ Daigle, what are your thoughts and predictions for the main gubernatorial race between LePage and Mills? I'll look further into the polling, the local polling specifically, and I'll talk about that at a future date. Princess, glad you're live. Sticks, missed your streams. I missed them too, but I had other things I wanted to do, like slaughter hundreds of ghouls. Bara, I'm putting my money in Sticks Pal. Reality Paranormal, I'm writing a stage play and have a need to properly portray Jinn as authentically as possible. Can you speak about them for a moment, please? Thank you. Yes, Jinn, which are sort of semi-angelic, semi-demonic figures from Islamic lore, although they date to an earlier pagan period. The Sabaeans had the same basic concept, originate from smokeless fire. And they are typically mischievous or outright evil. Under Islamic principles, Orthodox Islam at least, they can be converted. So a jinn has possessed someone, a home, a place, an oasis, or whatever it happens to be, and they are, propounded upon by the cleric, and they can be converted to Islam and become good. So at least they're not doing their tricks anymore. They're still there, but they're no longer evil. They are typically regarded more as mischievous and devious than they are specifically evil. It's sort of like they're not humanoid. I mean, they're not usually visible. They have various magical properties to them, but they were made separately from humans, according to that particular lore. And of course, Muhammad based a great deal of Islam off of pagan lore, so it appears earlier than Islam does. They're made of smokeless fire. They transcend the physical plane. Carry Ocean, I can defeat Carry Lake, for my reach is wider. And we need Carry River and Carry Small Stream. Not a banned account. Will President Harris be inaugurated by 2024? No, but I don't think Biden will be running in 24. I think that even the Democrats don't want that at this point. Symbolic Belief. Any chance Mastriano wins? A chance, but an outside chance. But it isn't. You would need a significant polling skew for that to occur. Deus Flex, thank you for the $100, by the way. Hey, Stick, sorry I missed your last stream, but I thought I'd add to the military name change subject. 2 aircraft carriers, Carl Vinson and John Stennis, were both named congressmen known for sponsoring budgets for the Navy, but were also pro-Jim Crow Democrats. Oh, then they get a pass. They were Democrats, and they helped the Navy get money. Yeah, that's the way that it works. Meanwhile, was it Fort Hood, Fort Bragg? I can't remember the other ones. I think it's 5 or 6 different forts are being renamed. It's going to cost $65 million goddamn dollars. Well, $65 million buys a lot of guns and bullets. Why don't we put it to use in something that we actually need to do instead of wokeifying the U.S. military? It's rather sad. I mean, the military's only purpose is to kill people. A la una en punto. Will the reps lose all their Latino gains once the Dems go through their transformations, this validating the demographics or destiny theory in their long term? No, I don't think that the Republicans are going to lose their gains with Latino voters. You're going on an entirely new generation of voters from that backdrop, and they are not like people that simply wandered across the border to a new pueblo to try to make tacos or something. This is the Democrats' mythology with regards to Hispanic voters. They think that it's a person with a very ethnic name. They look ethnic. They wear a sombrero. They eat tamales all day, and you can hire them out in front of Home Depot. And that's really what they want Hispanic voters to be too. Cheap help, gardeners, waiters, and shit like that. They want them in the service industry or in brute manual labor. They don't want them to own small businesses, but they do, and it's becoming a real goddamn hassle for the Democrats. They think of the southern borderland, where I live briefly, and they think of it as an endless sprawl of ghettos. Those are the people that pick the avocados for their toast. Really, though, it's suburbia, and it's growing very, very rapidly. I was in southern Texas. You wouldn't fucking believe it. The Landlord Harassment Channel. You got an email. Twitter keeps banning me. Many such cases, by the way. Next, we have Fetterman to talk about here. Oh, boy. This is apparently this is from NBC, by the way. So this is complex. I'll try to get into it. I'll just read this verbatim. Fetterman struggles to understand what he hears and to speak clearly, reporter says. This is by Brittany Bernstein. NBC News reporter Dasha Burns and Pennsylvania Democratic Senate candidate John Fetterman said that he struggles to understand what he hears and to speak clearly after having a stroke in May. Burns sat down with Fetterman for an interview in his home on Friday. He had a monitor set up so he could read my questions because he still has lingering auditory processing issues as the result of a stroke, which means he has a hard time understanding what he's hearing, Burns explained on Tuesday. Now, once he reads the question, he's able to understand. There are multiple layers to this. Number one, do the people of Pennsylvania really need to elect someone to the U.S. Senate? Fairly important position, just to be clear, who has auditory processing issues, so a recognizable health issue. That's number one. Number two, it starts trending on Twitter, and the liberals immediately freak out because they know that that particular race is basically the make or break for the Democrats holding at least a 50-50 in the Senate, with Walker slightly behind Warnock now, but not really falling far from his so-called scandal, which can't be verified anyway, which, by the way, I predicted, really, they need to knock Mehmet Oz out or they have lost the Senate. If Fetterman loses, the Democrats have lost the Senate by at least a seat, probably two, possibly three. So they're worried about this. What do? They come out and they make warning tweets. Oh my God, the Republicans, which, you don't have to be a Republican to realize that Fetterman's fucked up, are going to try to astroturf this. They're trying to destroy John Fetterman and we must stop them. Be very careful about what you interact with today. It was trending because of an NBC News reporter. NBC News is liberal. They like John Fetterman. He got a fluff piece interview here, and they put this out expecting that nobody would find any problems with it. I think that it is a problem, though. People should not be in Congress that have that particular kind of problem. A person who is a member of Congress, especially in the Senate, is going to have to give speeches. They're going to have to read a bunch of fucking legalese. They're going to have to go to meetings and understand what they're being told at the meeting. It doesn't matter if it's a Democrat or a Republican. I would point out, however, that Fetterman was already stupid long before he had a stroke. That's a processing issue. It's meaningful, but he was already dumb before that. He didn't need a stroke for him not to understand economics. He didn't need a stroke for him to be incoherent when it comes to his id poll-based platforms. Didn't need that. He should not be voted for. I very reluctantly would support Mehmet Oz if I were there. Originally, I said, fuck this. I don't really care. Fetterman came out and completely lambastes gun owners, completely goes full goddamn id poll to the point where finally you would have to hold your nose maybe, but Mehmet Oz really is the better candidate by a long sea mile. The dude is, the NBC reporter is saying that he can't understand what the fuck he's talking about. He has to read it. He needs a teleprompter in order to understand things during an interview. Is that really what Pennsylvania wants to put in the Senate? Yeah, this sounds like a great idea. And then when he has another stroke and you have a non-incumbent open seat in 2024 and the Republicans slam a jamma you, that'll long-term, a really great success, dude. Brand new. Sticks, have you heard about Pfizer admitting that they never tested something that I can't talk about on YouTube openly? Yes, but we can't talk about that openly. Savvy D, 2 words. Trunal. Oh, yeah, it's that Biden word, and I can't pronounce it. Trunalimunuma preserve. I think I did fairly well. And think that was one of his more lucid moments. The Grizzly, man, I hope these Democrats hemorrhage more moderates from their party and force them underwater with independents, smother them in their loser positions, then never let them take power until they reform. That's the hope. That is the hope. Darun Albane, Fallout 4 survival is a pain but fun challenge. I like building up the settlements. I know some people aren't really into it. I think that it's enjoyable. Adam THM, inflation numbers are in, Sticks. They went up. Oh boy, I hope that you're... that would be definitely funny. You got to get me a link like on Twitter. I'm not seeing anything on the news page. I thought they were coming out tomorrow on the 13th, actually. I wouldn't be surprised, though. I'm assuming... honor system, I trust you. Cold Warrior, Bolduc doesn't have much of a chance in Cow Hampshire. In Massachusetts, the fake Republican has no chance against the commie lady. Oh, well, first governor debate tonight. Oh, goody. I won't be able to catch it live because, you know, I've got a small child, but I will definitely watch some recaps. Get me some good shit from that overnight while I slumber. Arnett23me, hey Sticks, why are leftists so obsessed with race? Well, they always have been. Originally, it was, hey, you should hate this person because they're black. Now it's, hey, you should support me because I love black people more than you do. The id poll just changed. Really, it's just opportunism. They're obsessed with it because they realize that if they split people apart, they can get more votes and more money. Kyle Miller, don't forget they are trying to push that we will not know the results of the midterms until days after election night. Not the case with most states, though, and not the case with most of the states that have close races. So I'm not concerned with that. I don't think that it'll be a problem. You got to realize, even in 2020, should you believe that there was honking going on, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, it only affected one race. Didn't affect the down ballot races. Symbolic belief, when does Trump announce his run? Probably right after midterms if he does. Hismanai, happy clank. Stephen Nizek, might be a troll reading, but I think current news about Colorado catching 30,000 voter registration postcards for non-citizens might be interesting. Imagine Colorado House seats flipping MAGA red in the midterms. Yes, they accidentally mailed out 30,000 reminder postcards to people who are not eligible to vote. It was an accident. Yeah. Caleb Barber, can you look into the Michigan abortion referendum question? It's worded poorly and could have other consequences I've heard regarding minors. I'll look into it. Scathing take. Fetterman's issue sounds like a mild case of Wernick's aphasia. Imagine a politician with an excuse not to understand legislation. Good Lord. Well, to be clear, they all claim that anyway when they sign off on something that's not popular. So I won't tear him down for that. Swamp Mad on Rumble. I can't talk about it on the YouTube stream. That's why we're here on Rumble. Maybe time for an alt tech live stream. I did a test alt tech live stream. It went very well, but I got to get a schedule going. Don't worry, things are in the works. Next news story. North Korea says missile tests are practice for tactical nuclear strikes on South Korea. My apologies for news that's 2 days outdated. Here's my analysis. North Korea is full of it. This is part of the Asian politicking that I've talked about that Biden and people like that don't understand. You make this big announcement, you say, maybe we'll nuke you. Maybe we'll wipe you off the face of the earth. The other side responds, and they're supposed to respond with force, firing off their own missiles, declaring they may want the bomb too. South Korea could do that. Japan has kind of half-heartedly said that as well. And then you negotiate. That's the way that it's supposed to work. What do we not have right now? U.S. leadership that's capable of understanding that basic tactic and premise. They only understand Western European and North American politics, and that's basically it. And the diaspora, New Zealand or something. That's what Biden and his administration get. They don't understand how to constrain someone like Putin. They don't understand how to deal with North Korea or China or any of these other nations. Their idea about dealing with the Middle East is, hey, if we drop more bombs this time it'll work for sure. This is just bravado. I'm not worried that the North Koreans are going to use a preemptive nuclear strike on their southern neighbors. But people are acting as though they're worried about it, so I figured that I'd point that out. Walker Voss, good morning. My favorite morning show is Clanking. Check out the new Veritas Undercover vid on Hobbs' campaign. It's over for her. Somebody get me a link. I'm going to need that. That might be a main for tomorrow. By the way, there are almost 5,000 people watching live already. Maybe I should only do the show every other day or something so more people show up. But then some people would get salty at me. Early life check, Sticks, talk some sense into your son, Razorfist. He blocked me and a bunch of fans the other day when we trolled him for essentially using socioeconomic factors for pit bull attacks. I made a video the other day on pit bulls. I also do not believe they should be banned. I would point out, though, there is a breeding element to pit bull violence. That's number one. There is a definite discrepancy between pit bull owners and the owners of many kinds of dogs. Number two, we can see this in statistics. It's not even close. And number three, I think that people should be held accountable for their animals' behavior. I look at it as similar to the gun debate, other than the fact that the pit bull, of course, or other dog has sentience and a gun just lays there until a person picks it up. If you're in control of the dog, it's yours. Or if you've dedicated that control to another person, you should be held responsible for its actions. The only real problem that I have is that the commonality to pit bull owners extends to the point where they always say fluffy pit bulls wouldn't hurt a fly, and here's why the person that it mauled was responsible. That 5-year-old kid smelled funny. It pulled its tail. It came too close. It made a loud noise. That woman had the wrong perfume on, and it triggered Mr. Pibbles, and she should have known better. I don't see people who own other breeds of dogs generally doing that. There is a discrepancy, and it's a human one, really. It's not even about the dog at that point, and I guess I agree with the pit bull owners about that. It's a problem with the owners. They don't have the time or inclination to train them properly. They have them hanging around some fucking kid or something, and then they wonder why the kid is a bloody mess when they get home. Well, they must have yanked Mr. Pibble's paw. Well, I mean, the average dog doesn't just haul off and rip your face off when you pull its paw. Adam THM, I tagged you on the disclosed TV post on Twitter. Thank you. E100 Omega 123, Kanye escaped the Idpol loop and leftists are mad and scared. Yes, he wandered off the reservation. I'm going to check this out for the inflation data. Let's see if it's, yeah. Justin, producer price inflation in the United States rises by 0.4% to 8.5 in September, more than expected as inflation persists. I do not believe that is the entire number, though, because I think it's already at 8.5, if I remember correctly. I do not. I think tomorrow we're getting the total number, but if this has risen, that doesn't say great things about the overall number that we're going to be getting. So thank you for that news tip. So it looks like it's going to be quitins for the Democrats come the November midterms, because if the last inflation report is bad, that's really going to sag them out. Greta Thanos, think you ought to know. This is Sleazy P song. Yes, I've actually, I think, heard that song. Next news story. This is from the U.S. Selective Service. Yes, they are officially goddamn brain dead. The Selective Service on Twitter, tweeting this out the other day. Parents, if your son is an only son and the last male in your family to carry the family name, he's still required to register with SSS. Learn more about who needs to register at sss.gov/register. Yeah, I noticed that equal protection under the law does not extend to females having to register with the draft, or to males, preferably, not having to register because they don't want to go and get blown up for oil or for some foreign country that DC happens to be propping up at the time. They're getting completely lambasted and dogpiled with this. That's why I chose to archive it. I figured they might take it down and say, we're sorry that we offended so many American people by threatening to blow your sons up. Let us restate this. You have to register with the Selective Service if you're male. We are really, really sad about the fact that your only son just died and your family lineage is dead. Why would you post this? It doesn't make any goddamn sense. It's like they're trying to alienate the entire public. Although I'm glad about the fact that they are alienating them, because war is a racket and we shouldn't have a draft at all. It's a remnant of the past era. Volunteer military will always outperform a drafted military anyway. We sit here criticizing Russia for partially mobilizing and saying, well, that's it then. All of the proper soldiers are gone. Now they've got a bunch of people that don't want to fight. Absolutely. Yeah, when you kill your way through the volunteers, the people that replace them are kind of more reluctant to fight. And Typically, they're going to have more problems and worse training. We should have a volunteer-only military. There should be no draft. Unless there's, I mean, think about it in the nuclear era. With the United States having all the toys that it does, under what premise would you have a draft? Under that premise, you've already suffered a nuclear strike or something. Oh, okay, well, then you're fucked already. Why bother having a draft? You should just marshalize the population, tell them to dig a trench and sit in it and hope that they survive. The Grizzly, Your Honor, I didn't unalive that person. They just happened to walk in front of my iron sights while I was aiming at them. Defying the meta. I sent you a clip of Pelosi saying that DeSantis sending immigrants north was a shame because they were needed in Florida to pick fruit. It got pulled fast. Don't know if you saw it. Yeah, I talked about that almost a week ago, actually. Yes, Pelosi saying that people who migrate illegally to the United States need to stay down there. Don't come y'all up here to Martha's Vineyard and bother my donors. You're needed down there to pick fruit. Do exactly what you were doing in your shit country that was destroyed by socialism before you left it. Do exactly what you were doing before, but you'll have banana chips. That's basically the difference. Welcome to America, shit fuck. James Flowers, I'm late, so I'm a rewind to be 20 minutes behind everyone else. Hunter Wadley, funny how they say Tulsi was never a Democrat. She's still not right-wing or libertarian, in my opinion. The Pitbull debate is a trap. Watch the left bind it to human genetics and say the right is racist. Yeah, they tried to do that. TJ Mars, would you be interested in having Adam Krigler on your midterm stream? Yeah, possibly. That might work. Although I think I've already got a full docket of potential guests, so I'll look into that. Salte, Sticks, hypothetically, if I identify as a female but I'm male as I can be, can I skip the selective service? I don't know. Who fucking knows? They'll probably try to put females in the draft before they'll just let the old grift go. Jebediah Kerman, selective service is de facto optional. They send you 3 threatening letters and then nothing happens. Drawbacks, can't get a government job. Oh no. I think you need to register with them to vote as well. E100 Omega 123. Narrativebusters.org, 100 pages that obliterate the party switch lie dem spew. Free to all. Excellent. Next news story, we've got to talk about Lizzo, I guess rapper or singer or something. She played James Madison's flute. That's basically what she's known for at the moment. She lashed out at Kanye because Kanye was talking about the fact that she's pushing 300 pounds, and that's not healthy. People should not weigh 300 pounds. Maybe if you're like 8 feet tall, it would be all right, I guess. The cope in the goddamn responses, by the way, is hilarious. I'll get a little bit into the BMI debate as well. She's obese, morbidly obese, by a margin of 50 or 60 pounds. She's shaving 15, 20 years off her likely lifespan by being so. But she's considered stunning and brave. Lizzo used her Toronto stop during the special tour on Friday to seemingly address Kanye West's comments about her weight from the Huffington Post, talking about how she's stunning and brave. And let's get aside from the fact whether it's fashion in vogue, which it's not, on if someone thinks it's attractive. To each his own. It's actually clinically unhealthy, West said. This is now considered to be out there, to be bigoted, to be wrong, and to be spurious. The idea that a person is 100+ pounds overweight and that it could have health ramifications is now considered wrong. I see so much cope from people here saying, well, BMI is a bad measurement of a person's health. BMI doesn't directly necessarily correlate with fatness. Can I please ask you this? Lizzo is not a bodybuilder, correct? Therefore, her BMI being high, is it the result of muscle or the result of fucking fat? It's the result of fat. And there's no fat shaming or anything like that. Like, there are people that are overweight and they have a genetic issue, an endocrine disorder of some sort. I don't go around, calling them names or anything. But when you are choosing to be obese, and you're trying to claim that it's beautiful and wonderful and empowering somehow, the fact that it's harder for you to get out of bed each morning and gasp for breath, that's not healthy for society. It's not healthy for the individual. And Kanye West is fundamentally right. I would point out one thing, and I pointed this out on my New Tech exclusive a couple days ago when I weighed in on this briefly. One thing you never do is ridicule someone who's overweight and they're in the gym. They're on the treadmill. I don't care if they're rippling pile of fat. They're trying. They're attempting to get thin. The worst thing you can do is ridicule them. Then they go home and then they eat themselves to death. Leave people alone in a public place. You see someone who's overweight, you don't know if they've got a gym membership. Maybe they're just starting out. They let themselves go for a couple of years. They gained 100 pounds. They're fucked up. Now they're trying to be better. Well, who are you to judge them? But when someone comes out on stage and prances around saying, I'm proud to be obese, that's a little bit different. I mean, will she make it to 55? There's the over and under, 55. That's statistically likely to be around the time that she croaks at her current weight. But let's celebrate her. She's basically like Venus. She's got all the curves in all the right places. No, she doesn't have curves. She has folds. There is a difference, believe it or not. And celebrating that is completely fucked up. The people celebrating it, they're not doing anything good for her. Okay, you make her feel better about her diet, and then she's going to die. Just to be clear. You wouldn't do that for a crack addict. It's basically the same thing. And she's vegan, by the way. A lot of people probably assume, well, she eats, the T-bones every day. No. She's vegan. She's gotten obese because she's eating a lot of carbs. She's scarfing down the sugary snacks, but they're vegan. So no animals other than her are going to die in the process. She's going to end up a dead body. She's going to end up in a double-wide coffin. And these people will still be praising her for her choice to push for fat acceptance when she's dead. Yeah, really enlightened, progressive. You caused her to die by not telling her, hey, slow down on eating the goddamn Twinkies. Adam Pennington, Stick Sexnammer, Representative Jim Jordan saying the railroad union deal fell apart. Oh, interesting. That's going to be good for the U.S. economy. The Agal Faces, hear this out. Potted meat and butter sandwich. Yeah, I'll skip that one. If I'm going to have a sandwich at all, and I typically avoid a lot of carbs, I don't have a keto diet, but I'm not really a bread eater for the most part. It's got to be like a BLT or something. I like to have like lettuce and tomatoes and shit like that. But yeah, meat is good. We crave it for a reason. Next news story, Elizabeth Warren mocked for Indigenous Peoples Day tweet. You just might want to sit this one out. Warren previously claimed to be Native American while teaching at Harvard Law School. Yes, Elizabeth Warren got into Harvard by lying about her ethnicity. Now she's lecturing people on why Christopher Columbus is a racist or something like that. She is whiter than virtually anyone else. She's 99.99% Anglo-Saxon. She's as white as you can possibly goddamn get. She pretended for years that she was Native American or partially Native American. Really, though, she's just a NIMBYist who lives on a vineyard. Literally Martha's Vineyard, I think. She is rich, extremely white. It was hilarious seeing that one video. You probably remember it if you keep up on politics. You remember when she's like, I want a beer on her live stream there, grabs the Rolling Rock or whatever it was. And I'm thinking to myself, she looks so uncomfortable drinking a beer because she's used to grabbing the box wine straight from her own vineyard, probably. I mean, she's a continuous local. Do you remember Elizabeth Warren's meme team? And that wasn't even directly tied to her campaign, but it was about the cringiest thing in the 2016 election. It was worse than anything that Hillary or Biden have ever done. Aussie's robots, PayPal's fees are the least of their problems. They've changed so many terms and levied many arbitrary fees, rendering them almost unusable. What do you think of TikTok banning the term white lives matter? Well, I mean, they're Chinese communists that run TikTok. It doesn't surprise me in the least. Peyton Walter, thank you. You sent about $200. You ever think about doing stand-up comedy? You'd probably be pretty good at it. I love one-liners and dad humor and lots of grave humor. It's sort of like Joker, if you think about it. Not to do a cringe term here, but I make bizarre references all the time that I find hilarious that other people typically don't get. They don't realize that I'm doing it to trigger them because I find their reactions to be hilarious. Yeah, I've thought about doing like a comedy video or something like that. I can work myself up and crack one-liners all day, but I have to be in the right mood. It's sort of like when I did Redneck Ralph, and I could only dig up, I took them off the main channel and unfortunately forgot that I hadn't downloaded the audio files first. So there's only one that's available right now on my alternate channel. It's, I can't remember which one it is. There was one, it was Jeb Bush birthday party, and I wish that I still had it because it was fun. But I got into a goofy mood, and I just went out into the breezeway back in Rutland, and I just sat there ranting and pretending to be a redneck and telling a story, like a campfire story about going to Jeb Bush's birthday party with the Illuminati and stuff like that, and I had a great time doing it. Yeah, if I get myself into the right mood, like to do some stand-up of some sort. I have stage fright, though, so it'd definitely be on video. It wouldn't be in real person. E100 Omega 123. I'm fat, but I lost 20 pounds since June. Knees feel better and shirts are looser. Counting calories is what's working for me. 1750 is daily max intake. Yeah, I've lost quite a bit of weight actually over the last few months myself, mainly because of increased exercise. We've started going on walks together that are even more. I was already getting probably about 25, 30 minutes walking a day. Now it's closer to an hour and a half on the average day. And I don't eat breakfast. I skip a meal each day. I've lost, God, I don't know exactly how much I've lost. I never got to fat or anything like that, but I like to be skinny. Skinny Sticks has returned effectively. Good job, by the way. Zeranx, I wish we were actually taught history. So many don't know Columbus Day exists because of an overture towards Italians for so many lynched in the 1800s. Exactly. Although keeping in mind Columbus never set foot in the continental United States. I think we should make it Second Amendment Day. We should make it Kyle Rittenhouse Self-Defense Day or something. That'd be even better. The Grizzly, my cousin argued with me that China is a right-wing government, the Communist government of China, because he said that they have traditions, and having many traditions at all makes you right-wing. Yeah, your cousin is maybe not as intelligent as you are. Take that as a compliment. Tell him that I said that. That'll be funny as hell. Joker 1, may your tribe be kidnapped, painted blue, marched up a pyramid as a priest cuts your heart out as your decapitated head bounces down the pyramid. Happy Indigenous Peoples Day. That was only one particular tribe, just to be clear. But yes, they fought amongst one another. There was slavery, there was servitude, there was rape. All of the things that are complained about from European colonialization were already happening. There were already genocides, there were already pogroms, etc. Borders shifted. It's like they have this cringe ass map now. Hey, learn what indigenous tribe used to live in your part of the country right here. Well, from what year are you calculating that? Because if you go back 50 years beyond that, I'm sure the borders are different. Somebody killed 100 people over a goddamn river back then. It was no different than when the Europeans arrived. The only difference is that disease came with the Europeans and went back to Europe, by the way, killing more people. It wasn't even directly inflicted. By the way, we're not even sure if the idea of them deliberately giving pox blankets from the hospital to native tribes is even true. That's an old potential mythology. Josh, should insane asylums and lobotomies return? Insane asylums? Yes. Lobotomies? No. No, bro, I don't think so. Too many lasting side effects. Sparky, I never had stage fright. I attribute it to a lack of situational awareness. Swamp Mad over on Rumble. Is the region surrounding the Netherlands referred to as the Nether region? Lol. Actually, I'm not sure. So yeah, on Pixel Planet, we are pixeling in. I see that much of that purple area, link in the description, by the way, not archived, of course, it's Pixel Planet, or at the top of chat if you're on YouTube. We're doing an Egyptian campaign on Pixel Planet today. The area around Tarldom there should be red and yellow tiles. Please do not destroy the Pharos Lighthouse, by the way. A clanker, I believe, made that. Used to be Alexandria. And then also to the other side on the east, where you see that it's dark red and medium blue, we can pixel that in between the rivers. That'll be today's goal. It's a mild war goal of the day. Not that we're technically at war with anyone. I don't even know who claims this particular land. SP Elite, NIGGERG. Oh, yeah, I get what you're spelling. Rocky, odds of a nuke hitting the USA. Very, very low. I don't think that there's going to be a nuclear war. Next news story. Texas Governor Greg Abbott criticizes New York City Mayor Eric Adams for ticketing buses carrying migrants. He declared a state of emergency over the influx of migrants from Texas, which will cost the city $1 billion. Oh my God, $1 billion? Ah, shit, that's like a day's operating budget for New York City. Who the fuck gives a shit? Do you realize how many taxes people pay just locally to live in New York City? It's more than I'd be willing to pay to live in a concrete jungle. Anyway, Texas Governor Greg Abbott criticized New York City Mayor Eric Adams over the ticketing of buses carrying migrants from his state to the so-called sanctuary city following a state of emergency declaration. The New York Police Department was seen over the weekend pulling over buses near Port Authority that dropped off dozens of migrants. The officers reportedly searched each bus for possible infractions, including tire treads, fluid levels, even windshield wiper placement. Sources told the Post that inspections were part of a ploy to find excuses to take the buses off the road and complicate the transportation of migrants caught illegally crossing the southern border into New York. Some sanctuary city now, isn't it? Don't you feel a big New York welcome, everyone who's going there? The 17,000 people who have already arrived. I thought that you wanted diversity. You said that you wouldn't cooperate with ICE. You said, come all ye faithful, give us your tired and poor. Now you don't want them. You're doing everything that you can to keep getting more of them. Why? Is it because your services are overcrowded? Well, cry me a goddamn river. Look at the southern border along Texas or Arizona and tell me what you see. You know why Kamala won't visit the southern border? Because the news cameras would see what's really going on and people would realize DeSantis and people like him were fully justified. Ozzy's robots. Tulsi's statement was spot on, especially regarding anti-white racism. Some people feel Christians are programmed to accept it due to a guilt complex. Yes, organized religion in general tends to gravitate around guilt because that's a good way to get people to pay more money. I am anti-religious, not anti-spiritual. You believe in a god or something? Yeah, that's fine. You shouldn't believe in a priest or a rabbi or an imam or something like that. Basically cult-light when you think about it. Has OPEC Plus dictated the outcome of the U.S. midterm elections? This is a fluff piece from oilprice.com by Alex Kamani. If I check this name, am I going to find like a CNN connection or something like this? Let me do that. Researcher for safehaven.com. I wonder who invests in them. This is the ultimate cope piece. The Democrats expect to lose the midterms. They expect gas prices to rise. Inflation, I guess, according to Adam THM's tip there, looks like that's going to tick up. That is not going to be good for the midterm elections. They're expecting to lose. Formerly, Joe Biden blamed Vladimir Putin for the gas price problem. Then he took credit for it going back down. Now that it appears to be stable and maybe inching back upwards, what are they going to do? They're going to blame OPEC. It had nothing to do with Joe Biden throttling energy production by blocking Keystone. It had nothing to do with hyper-regulation of refineries. It had nothing to do with delaying permitting for oil and gas drilling. It had nothing to do with any of these things. It had nothing to do with lockdownerism. That never happened. Just wash your brain of that. That was never a real thing. It's all in your head. Gaslighting supreme. Nothing to do with it's OPEC. It's the Saudis' fault, effectively. They are actually going to claim that they lost the midterms due to Saudi Arabia. I fully believe that. We're living in a goddamn... It's a daydream. It's a bad dream, I suppose. It's like being in Alice Wonderland. It's like Alice in Wonderland, only not funny. Christina B. Hashtag Carizona. Get it trending. Early life check. The Tulsi Gabbard conundrum is best addressed with the words of political space philosopher Admiral Akbar. It's a trap. Classic political triangulation on her part. That Manx guy sent $5, but no comment. Thank you very much. So yeah, the Democrats are actually going to blame another foreign entity, not just Russia, for the rising gas prices and people abandoning their party within 4 weeks of the midterm election. It's all their fault. By the way, they'll be ignoring the fact that there is a significant delay between when gas production falls or rises and the actual impact on the price. That won't kick in for three or so weeks. That won't kick in until right the ass end before midterms. But if the prices tick upwards in the meantime, it won't be baby Biden's fault. Alex Deman, is there truth to California declaring that doctors who disagree with politicians will be prosecuted? No, that will not happen. I believe they are tying that in with the trans debate. So doctors that disagree with doing drastic surgery on 13-year-olds, they're the ones that get in trouble. It's not because they disagreed with the government. It's because they didn't do their job or some shit like that. And then we have Tulsi Gabbard's epic announcement, and I'll analyze this a little bit. Tulsi Gabbard has left the Democratic Party, to be clear. I can no longer remain in today's Democratic Party that is now under the complete control of an elitist cabal of warmongers driven by cowardly wokeness who divide us by racializing every issue and stoke anti-white racism, actively work to undermine our God-given freedoms, are hostile to people of faith and spirituality, demonize the police and protect criminals at the expense of law-abiding Americans, believe in open borders, weaponize the national security state to go after political opponents, and above all, dragging us ever closer to nuclear war. She has partially redeemed herself in my own mind. I'll tell you, there's one thing further that doesn't get mentioned here, but she did mention it on her Substack post. Why she didn't toss that in here to ingratiate herself to certain independent voting blocks, I'm not sure. She was actually very critical of Beto O'Rourke and what's on the gun issue. Beto O'Rourke is most known for wanting to go after assault weapons. The one big red flag for me, for years now, for Tulsi Gabbard, and the reason I'm reluctant to support her at all, is because she seemed to be more anti-gun. That is, she deviated from the Democrats on a handful of issues, like war mainly and foreign policy, but really she was lockstep with them mostly. She appeared to indicate that she wanted to ban so-called assault weapons, which is to say modern sporting rifles. She appears to have more or less pulled back on that opinion. If that's the case, if her views are evolving on that, and I don't mean just like she's saying that to get a job or something, but genuinely she can show longer term that she's actually now not an anti-gunner, like not going to be like a John Cornyn or something. Yeah, that's pretty decent. Yeah, you could definitely do worse than Tulsi Gabbard at that point. I think she's going to get back into politics. What role she's seeking, I don't know. It won't be the presidency. I don't think that's possible. If you leave the Dems, then you got to make a choice. And this is the other thing I wanted to talk about. She says nowhere that she's going to become a Republican. I have a feeling she's going to mount some sort of independent campaign, or she's going to be like Yang, and she's going to try to start a political movement for money and potentially in the long-term political power, which is disingenuous perhaps, but I think she'd be more apt at doing so than Yang. She'd probably get further. I did find it funny. A lot of people thought this wouldn't do anything like with the midterms or with like Dem approval. There's not a huge number of Democrats that like Tulsi Gabbard at this point. That's admittedly true. But their votes are already spoken for, not just for the midterms, but in perpetuity for the most part. What's not spoken for? Independent voters. While there are no longer as many left-leaning independents as there were in the past, I have a feeling that her urging people to leave the Democratic Party cracks into the five-figure margin when it comes to the number of people that'll say, that's enough. Tulsi's saying that it's a bad idea. I'm going to go with her instead. It won't be a huge number of people. It's like a small town's population. But you've got so many 50-50 races around the country that the Democrats really can't afford to lose 10, 20,000 voters. Even if that's the only sum of voters that switch their vote or stay home because of what she's saying, and she delivered it fairly poetically, that's still dire for the Democrats. 10,000 voters is a lot when you've got so many races that are going to come down to a few thousand now, isn't it? I'm not a huge fan of Tulsi Gabbard, but I do admire the fact that she chose to do this as an October surprise as well. By the way, don't send any more super chats, please. I've got some more to go through, and of course, have to look into those inflation numbers after the stream is done. Silky Johnson, according to David Pacman, Joe Biden has absolutely nothing to do with gas and oil. Come on, guys. Love to see you debate him, but we know that won't happen. Yeah, he rolled that out years ago by deflecting and claiming that I was a bigot, which is clearly not true. And how long until we get recorded footage of David Pacman drunk or on drugs or something and calling people the N-word? That seems to happen to a lot of Democrats lately. Cold Warrior, a lot of my super chats get shot down. I guess I just won't speak. What is Rumble's cut on the rants? YouTube Zooks. It's lower than YouTube's. To be clear, if you do a Rumble super chat, you are giving me more money than if you're on YouTube. But I'm not looking a gift horse in the mouth. And really, when you're hosting this kind of thing, I really don't begrudge YouTube having a cut. I genuinely don't. I don't see why people have a problem with that. YouTube has its own problems, but that's not one of them. By the way, God, there might be 6,000 people watching live. Yeah, there are about 6,000. We're getting up there. Kamatal Godson on Rumble. Speak of the devil. What happens next if they fortify, I can't use that term, the midterms and even further the next election? Will citizens of the United States finally do something about it? They already are. They're overrunning local precinct positions and seizing the means of the reproduction of votes at the moment. What's his name? Steve Bannon has been doing that a lot. Scott Pressler and other activists have been defortifying various areas, and several states have defortified as well. It's not going to be the issue that it was in 2020. Glow in the dark. I think USA shot themselves in the foot with the Iran deal. It pissed off the Saudis and they wouldn't pump more oil. If we drilled, we wouldn't have to worry. Yeah, we need Trump back desperately. Trump 2024, motherfucker. CF, how much more do you think the Ukraine conflict goes? I have no clue. It appears to be a stalemate at the moment. So it's more of a matter of how many people die. The Democrats hope that all of them die, I think. Slob, do you think that Biden will continue to deplete our oil reserves even after the midterms? No, because then he doesn't have to worry about the midterm results. It'll stop right afterwards. In fact, I think it's slated for January, actually, when that is officially cut off. How very interesting timing, or is it December, actually? Yeah, a month after midterms is when they shut off the spigot. Then you can suffer and they'll stop pretending to care about you. People pointing out that Tulsi is WEF friendly. I wouldn't say that. It's sort of like when people were attacking Trump for going to the WEF conference there. And you'll remember, though, when he was at the conference, the entire thing was him insulting them. But you have a picture of him with Klaus Schwab, and this was cast off by the Never Trumpers as being evidence of Trump-loving globalism. It was exactly the opposite. He went there and trolled them for half an hour. With Tulsi Gabbard, the fact that you were selected for a young leadership forum by the WEF years ago does not necessarily mean that you are a globalist. When I look at her economic views, I would say she's not. My problem is with her anti-gun views, but they appear to be maybe in the past. We'll wait and see. I mean, jury's out on Tulsi Gabbard. I'm not going to say, oh, well, Tulsi 2024, fuck that shit. She has a lot of redeeming that she needs to do before I could ever conceive of supporting her. Leaving the Dems is good, but it's sort of like the steps to recovery for an addict. The fact that you've put the crack pipe down now doesn't mean you don't pick it up a couple steps later. I want Tulsi to keep the crack pipe down. Maybe she got it from Sleazy. Maybe she got it from Hunter. It depends on how much she wants to pay per unit, how pure it is. I want to see some consistency for a number of years before I give a damn whether she gets back into politics. Because I have principles. And I don't give a fuck about party anyway. She can stay in the Democratic Party if she says the right things and walks the walk. I just think it's funny how much cope there was about it. Good riddance. Bye, Felicia. Ha, ha, ha. Good. We're glad to see you go. Go and join the evil Republicans. Boy, oh boy, was that funny as fuck. And it was coping. They're terrified because it's basically just an October surprise for them. I see a lot of clanking going on over there in Egypt, and I'm liking what I'm seeing. I repaired parts of the Nile Delta area earlier, as I mentioned. Parts of it are still a goddamn mess. I don't even know exactly where the coastline's supposed to be. Once we're done with this, we might as well push into the Sinai Peninsula. We're taking over Egypt and Jordan. By the way, there are still people trying to clank up in Syria and Lebanon. I've asked them not to because we ceded that to Turkey in return for being left alone in Egypt, basically. I figure we got the good end. I figure we got the non-fuzzy end of the lollipop in the deal, by the way. Now we're at peace. I think, are we still at war with that moron in Florida? I'm just dicking off at this point. Just give me a moment, everyone. I would love to do a live stream of this, but I wouldn't be able to put it on YouTube. No, it looks like we finally overran the Floridian moron who was holding out in Pinellas County. He wanted to keep that green, and I said, no, that's clank territory. We had already overrun the whole thing. What are you doing? And then he said, well, you're going to have a war on your hands. It took like 2 days to completely overrun everything. So Florida is ours as well. We are the alligator owners now. And soon Egypt will be ours as well, too. I don't know if their faction's still active. They've got a Discord link that they've put up there, but they don't seem to be like fighting back or anything. I would think if they were still active, I would assume that the Nile Delta would be on their priority list. Anyway, I think that I'll go offline. We've got about an hour. Finally got the news out of my system. Thank goodness. And yeah, 6,000 at peak is pretty fucking good. And over 2,000 people watching live on Rumble. And that's it's great to see. It's like a 2-to-1, but the audience is more like a 4-to-1. So the engagement's about twice as high. One last one to get to here. Bradley Roberts, 2 words. Let's go, Brandon. Yes, you saw Lauren Boebert the other day trolling poor Joe Biden and almost accidentally trolling a bunch of liberal commentators in the process. It was fucking great. Anyway, yeah, I'll go offline. I've got to do a news crawl for tomorrow's live stream, et cetera, et cetera. Getting kind of hungry, I suppose. And that's about all. Peace out.